maybe our primary, maybe our only two obligations: our own development, and then repaying all of the good fortune that has been bestowed upon us.
We are back with another daily reflection on the Daily Vedantic, and today's reflection, I recorded it while we were traveling. So all you lucky listeners will get to listen to the voice note in this episode. Let's get into it.
Oh, Danny boy, oh, Danny boy, oh, Danny boy. You know, the original Greek of the song from Chumbawamba, Oh, Danny boy, the original Greek, metanoiate, means to transform your mind. All right, we're back with another reflection on the Daily V. And this reflection, this is something that came up in an episode that we just recorded for Yoga for Your Intellect. The other podcast that I have, the longer form conversational podcast that I do with my teacher, Joseph, who we are both students of Swami Parthasarathi, and Joseph's, it was a great episode. And the conversations that I get to have with Joseph, they're so enlightening, both senses, but obviously illuminating, but also just the levity, the energy that comes from the conversation. Energy that comes from a conversation with someone else pursuing the truth. Unmatched, totally unmatched by all other conversations. And it could be with that person about something mundane. You could be talking about the Dallas Cowboys. You could be talking about surfing. You could be talking about parenting with my wife, Cheney. But the fact that it's underpinned by the same pursuit of truth, just unmatched. Anyhow, with the conversation with Joseph, talked about this phrase that Swamiji will use often, where we'll talk about humans, all of us, in these knots of obligations. They'll say we've accumulated a Frankenstein of obligations, meaning that we tie ourselves into 37 different obligations, and they all crisscross, and they're all actually, like, many of them oppose each other, but we're just convinced, no, those are obligations. We gotta do it. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. The idea that we are lost because we have no commitments is, we think of that like apathetic, lazy couch potato as someone that's maybe lost. But far more often, it's actually the exact opposite. The person caught up in 35 different obligations, rushing, hurrying from this to that, constantly agitated, confusing activity with achievement. Got to go faster, faster, faster. Got to get that second, third cup, that fourth cup of coffee. Got to get. And then in 30 years, I'll just be able to, I'll finally be able to just be. It's those people that, and it's all of us, especially in a American-centric culture where in the West, it's just like, got to go, go, go. And if you don't, you're going to be left behind. And we wake up and we've got 37 different obligations to the people we work with, to our parents that, our parents, we might inherit 16 different obligations that we think we need to perform because of our obligations that we say, because of our obligations to our parents. And really, it's just, I want their love really, really badly. And their conditional love is built on me doing these 16 things. All from what Swami will say is just a selfish desire, disguised, masquerading as obligation. It's so helpful to take a step back and take an audit of all of these things that we think are necessary obligations. And really inquire within ourselves, are those obligations, am I doing this in service of others, or is this totally in service of myself? Because I really, really, really am scared of a world where I'm not accepted by them or that person, or don't have that conditional love from that parent. And if they have conditional love for you to be those 16 things, dude, F them. Like, seriously, screw the dad that is never satisfied with what you do. They're dealing with their own 3,737 idiotic obligations, desires, selfish desires. Dude, I'm going to drop an F-bomb. Dude, fuck them. The friends that need you to do those like 17 different things for you to be in the group, that feel bad if you are trying to better yourself. If you let them know you're not drinking that night and you feel like, oh, it's going to cause some discomfort with them because I really want to get good sleep. And okay, it's easier if I just have a glass of wine, if I just have a beer with them, or if I stay out a little bit late. Fuck them. Those are not friends. And if a parent has conditional love for you, that ain't love. So in the conversation with Joseph, it naturally went to, well, what are our true, genuine obligations? And there's really only two. First obligation is our own development. Mentioned it last episode that the most important work we do for others is the work we do on ourselves. That is a Vedantic principle that is outlined over and over and over again. The most important work we do for others is the work we do on ourselves. I love that articulation. That articulation comes from Ram Dass. It comes from the Gita, where it talks about the 5 ways in which we can help others with material wealth. Give someone $5. It's homeless. Yeah, that could be helpful, but it's not that helpful. Give them $1 million. Could be helpful. It's not that helpful. If they got a drug addiction, maybe that's a catalyst to them no longer being around in 3 months by giving them $1 million. Then you can give them your physical presence. So you actually sit with them. You're there physically with them. The friend that's going through a breakup, physical presence, that's better than just buying them dinner. But it's still not that great. Emotional presence. You really get into their shoes, see what they're going through. You connect with them on an emotional level. That's way better than just sitting physically next to them if they're going through a really tough time. Then you have wisdom to share. It's even better than emotional presence, but maybe you have some real hard-earned wisdom where you've been through that scenario and you can impart, hey, this is how you're feeling right now. I get it. And you're scared that X, Y, or Z is going to happen next. That's what you're really fearful of, and it's just destroying you, tearing you up inside. But let me impart some wisdom on what's actually going to happen. It's what a great coach does. It's imparting wisdom, not just being at the practice, not just paying the rent for the gym, but being able to impart wisdom. That's way better than just emotional help, way better than physical presence, way better than just renting out the gym. But fifth, the most helpful thing we can do is the work that we do on ourselves. The wisdom that we ourselves attain and accumulate that then spills into all of those other areas in which we can help. And then you end up knowing where to utilize maybe your financial position to help someone. You end up knowing what is the actual right thing to do with my physical presence. I actually have the wisdom, the development. I know how to change a tire. I'm not just pulling over the side of the road to be with someone, even emotionally, go through it, but you actually know how to improve the situation. You're not just imparting wisdom, but through your own development, you're walking wisdom. You get to a place that we're all called to get to, where you are a light, not just a light, you are a lighthouse in every interaction. That is the goal. That's the ideal. And that is where the work we do on ourselves in the early morning when no one's looking That's the most generous thing that we can do for those around us. And paradoxically, it's also the most generous thing that we can do for ourselves. The most generous thing we do for ourselves ends up being the most generous thing that we can do for others. And that is our first primary obligation. And our second one is to repay. Joseph talked about how Prophet Muhammad, his words are, the best among us are those that are the best at repaying. Repaying the debt for being given everything that we're given. Repaying it. That's both repaying it to those that have invested in us, to repaying it to the parents, the family structures, the community structures that have helped us all along the way. And it's also paying it forward. Paying it back into the universe, this universe that has given us, literally, metaphorically, on every level, everything. We live in a universe where the exact air pressure is provided for us. The temperature, distance of the earth, shifted by just a tiny percentage, closer to the sun, further away from the sun, and none of this would exist. Everything is so meticulously, perfectly designed for you, for us to be. And it is a thief that is just thinking, how do I get more? How do I get more? How do I get more? Versus, okay, how can I repay? I've been given everything, so, well, the only thing to if that's the debt, then the calling is to repay everything back. It's alarmingly clear. It is alarmingly high price to pay back, but those are our two obligations. And the first informs the second. So what aren't our obligations? Pretty much everything else. Well, I've got to continue on this career path because my parents paid for medical school. Well, I've got to do these 17 different things for my daughter's class as we end the school year or get close to the holidays. I've got to do all of these things with these different pockets of friends. No, you don't. Maybe the truth is, no, you don't. Maybe our commitment is to, and should be, as Gandhi put it, my commitment is to truth, not to consistency. Maybe our commitment is to truth. And not just continuing, nudging, pushing the ball forward on the 127 different commitments that a prior version of ourselves made. Maybe our commitments, maybe our obligations are so few and far between, so simple, so straightforward. Maybe our primary, maybe our only two obligations are our own development and then repaying all of the good fortune that has been bestowed upon us.
And that was today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.